Have you ever felt your heart racing, your mind full of words, but your lips refusing to speak? Have you ever said, okay, when you actually had questions just to avoid feeling uncomfortable? What if that silence didn't protect you, but slowly destroyed your confidence, your relationships, and your future? There was a young man named John. He wasn't lazy or careless. In fact, he was intelligent and observant. But he had one deep weakness. He was extremely quiet. Not because he didn't have thoughts, but because he believed that people wouldn't take him seriously, and it was better to stay silent than say something wrong. His father owned a flower shop, a small but respected business built with years of hard work. The shop was always filled with fresh flowers and loyal customers, but his father never trusted John. He would often say that life doesn't reward people who stay silent, and if John continued like this, he wouldn't survive in the real world. John heard these words every day, but he never replied. One day, his father had to step out for some urgent work. Before leaving, he clearly told John to take care of the shop and to properly ask every detail if any customer came for an order. John quietly nodded. After some time, a few men walked into the shop. They confidently said that they had already placed an order with his father and were there to collect it. John's mind was filled with questions. He wanted to ask which order, under what name, and what exactly they needed. But fear took over his thoughts. He started thinking that if he asked too many questions, they might get irritated or think he was stupid. So instead of asking anything, he simply said, "Okay." The men picked up expensive flowers, decorations, and arrangements, and then they left. John stood there silently, not realizing what he had just allowed to happen. When his father returned and saw the empty shop, he was shocked. He asked John what had happened. John explained everything hesitantly. The moment his father understood the situation, his anger exploded. He couldn't believe that John hadn't asked even a single question. John stayed silent again. That silence hurt more than the mistake itself. In anger and deep disappointment, his father told him to leave the house. He said that if John couldn't even speak when needed, he would never be able to handle life. And just like that, John lost his home. That night, sitting alone, John kept replaying everything in his mind. Not the men, not the flowers, but his silence. He knew what he should have asked. He knew something felt wrong, but he still said nothing. For the first time in his life, he realized that he didn't fail because he was weak. He failed because he didn't trust himself enough to speak. Days later, tired and lost, John met an old woman sitting quietly near a temple. She noticed his sadness and asked him why he looked so lost. At first, John hesitated, but then he opened up and told her everything. The old woman listened patiently and then said something that changed everything. She told him that his problem was not shyness. His problem was the fear of being judged. She explained that he stayed silent not because he had nothing to say, but because he had already decided that people would ignore him or think he was wrong. Before the world could reject him, he was rejecting himself. Those words hit John deeply. For the first time, he understood what was really holding him back. The old woman didn't give him instructions or exercises. She simply told him that courage is not about feeling confident. It is about acting even when you feel afraid. She told him that the next time fear tells him to stay silent, he should not try to remove the fear. He should just stop obeying it. John slowly started changing. He began noticing his own behavior. Every time he stayed quiet, he asked himself whether he was truly calm or just afraid. And little by little, he started choosing differently. It wasn't perfect. His voice still shook. He still felt nervous, but he started speaking anyway. With time, John gathered the courage to start his life again. He didn't go back home immediately. Instead, he started a small flower stall on the roadside. This time, things were different. When customers came, he didn't just nod. He spoke. He asked questions. He clarified things. He made mistakes, but he didn't hide from them. Slowly, people began to notice him, not just for his flowers, but for the way he interacted. They trusted him. They came back. Years passed, and that small stall turned into a successful business. One day, his father walked into his shop. There was no anger in his eyes this time, only pride. In that moment, John realized something powerful. He was never truly shy. He was just afraid of being judged, and that fear had once cost him everything. Shyness is not always the real problem. The real problem is believing that your voice does not matter. The world does not ignore silent people. It simply never gets to know them. So the next time fear tells you to stay quiet, don't fight the fear. Just don't listen to it.